On the wide, merciless sands of Shurima, the wind keeps score. It erases paths as quickly as it reveals footprints, and it buries the past with the same indifferent hand that buries bones. In this land of gods and sun-scorched ruins, one woman learned to distrust the kind of power that asks for everything in exchange for everything. Her name was Sivir, a fortune hunter, a mercenary captain, and a survivor who would, by chance and fury, be swept into the tide of a dead empire's revival. Sivir wasn't born into privilege. Her earliest memories are of hunger, a caravan's rattle, and the long shadows of men who cared only for coin and conquest. When marauders took her family, when desert nights taught her that only the hard and the clever survive, she made a private vow. Never again would she be powerless. She learned to read the desert as other children read stories. A faint trail in the sand told her the weight of a man's pack. An overturned cup whispered of a fight. Those instincts made her an excellent hunter, not of beasts, but of opportunity. By the time she reached adulthood, she had a name: Sivir the Battle Mistress, a mercenary captain, a woman with a jeweled crossblade who led paid bands into tombs and ruins, and who returned with riches or with nothing at all, but never without a lesson. Fortune hunting is less romance and more ledger. It's negotiating with bandit kings, reading ancient inscriptions by torchlight, and choosing between a risky entrance now or a slower death by attrition later. Sivir grew rich on risk. She was praised for her instincts and feared for her ruthlessness. She formed a crew of loyal fighters and ran caravans and contracts across a region where the law is whatever the strongest man says it is. Yet beneath every contracted raid and every blade split bargain, Sivir carried a deep curiosity. She pushed into tombs, not just for coin, but to learn what her ancestors had hidden. She had an appetite for other people's secrets, and over the years, that appetite both filled and hollowed her, because every secret came with a cost. The story that changed her life began in a sealed hall beneath the sands. A tomb belonging to a vanished house, its doors carved with glyphs and warnings. Sivir entered seeking treasure. She entered trusting the companions she had accepted for that contract, and she left betrayed. Cassiopeia, beautiful and deadly, had joined the expedition with motives that were not what they seemed. In the dim light of the tomb, greed and ambition moved faster than loyalty. A blade in the back, a desperate fight. Cassiopeia's betrayal sent Sivir to the brink of death. Stabbed, bleeding, and abandoned beneath the weight of history, she watched sand and torchlight and thought, perhaps, this was the end. Yet in the spaces between life and death, history is a patient beast. The energies buried under Shurima do not always lie quiet. As the tomb's machinations stirred, a wider upheaval in the desert began, an awakening that would shake the foundations of the world above. From that darkness came a hand. Azir, a man whose fate would reach far beyond any mortal crown, found Sivir's broken body. He gathered what was left of the tomb's healing waters, or perhaps the city's slow, rekindling power reached him. But somewhere, there was mercy. Sivir survived. Her rescue is not a passive footnote, it is a pivot. Azir's later rise, from a ruined prince to the ascended emperor who would try to restore Shurima, is linked to that very moment. The desert itself was waking, and in saving Sivir, he drew himself into a path that would become myth. Sivir, for her part, woke to a world with new, dangerous possibilities. A city stirring, ancient magics loosening, and men who once slept stirring in their graves. After her recovery, Sivir could have chosen a different life. Some offered her positions at court, opportunities to trade her blade for influence. But Sivir had never been inclined to replace a mercenary, essay freedom for the gilded cage of power. Instead, she returned to the desert with a sharper eye. She respected Azir's rescue, it was a debt unpaid by coin, but she resisted being swept into the grand design of any would-be emperor. This is the core of Sivir's character, a woman who knows the difference between being useful and being owned. She saw the rebirth around her, and she chose caution. When the old magic stirred, she read motives, not banners. When rulers promised resurrection or restoration, she measured their hunger for power. Shurima's returning power did not awaken in polite silence. Ancient forces, ascended warriors, and the monstrous echoes of past arrogance rose alongside it. Figures like Nasus and Renekton, guardians twisted by pride and fate, moved through this changed landscape. Zerath, a violent spark of betrayal from that age, loomed as a warning. The hunger for power can shatter nations. Sivir found herself caught in the eddies of these titanic currents. She fought in skirmishes where human lives were expendable, where the value of a ruined secret outweighed 1,000 pleas. She saw what unchecked ascension does. It destroys people for the sake of glory. That knowledge hardened her resolve. She would keep her distance, keep her crew, and only fight when the cost justified the return. Sivir's leadership grew not from ideals, but from necessity. In the shifting politics of Shurima, a strong mercenary captain can be a stabilizing force for villages and caravans. To some, she was a savior. For caravans routed by sandstorms or raiders, her blade meant a chance to live. To others, she was a problem. A woman who did what she needed and asked little of herself afterward. But the scars of betrayal never faded. Cassiopeia's treachery remained a shadow, a reminder that even in shared ambition, the heart can hold knives. Sivir learned to choose companions carefully. She trusted her instincts more than any oath. And when rare moments of tenderness came, a shared fire, a child saved from the heat, a song in a caravan, she allowed herself to be human. Those moments were brief, but they defined her more than any contract or coin. In the present day, Sivir is a paradox. She is both of Shurima and apart from it. The city's revival touches her life but does not bind her destiny. She moves between the ruins with a practiced step, a leader of men and women who follow her, because they know she will not ask them to die for someone else. Es vanity. Her life is a series of choices: when to help, when to walk away, when to plunder, and when to protect. She chooses survival and agency over legend. When the sands call with the secrets of the past, Sivir answers, not for empire, but for the logic of knowing and keeping what ought not be used lightly. At its heart, Sivir's story is not about mythic destiny or noble sacrifice. It's about a woman who built a life on grit and savvy, who survived betrayal and rose to lead not because she wanted to, but because it was required. She inhabits the margins of epic tales, a human scale pressed against the machinery of gods and empires. When the sun sets on Shurima and the wind scours a new pattern into the sand, Sivir picks her path by the stars and the scars she carries. She keeps walking, not because she seeks to be remembered, but because survival, more than glory, is what makes history worth living. In a land of gods and monsters, hers is the story of the person who refused to be used by either. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through Shurima's sands. If you enjoyed learning about Sivir's story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more lore. Let me know in the comments which champion you'd like to see next. Until then, stay safe out there.